Hey guys, so I've compiled part 1 and part 2 of What If Anakin was granted the rank of Master. I hope you all enjoy, and may the Force be with you. So in Revenge of the Sith, we see the High Jedi Council declining Anakin the rank of Master. This small detail in the movie actually amounts to more than we will ever know. Well, we can theorize what could happen, but until we get a Star Wars What If show, we'll just have to guess. So in today's What If, we will explore one of the many possibilities that could have transpired from Anakin being granted the rank of Master. As Anakin stands before the High Jedi Council, Mace Windu says,
"You are on this council. We grant you the rank of Master."
He gestures for Anakin to take a seat, which he kindly obliges to. Anakin was beyond happy. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time, not only because of the high honor bestowed upon him, but more importantly, now he had access to the restricted section in the Jedi archives. After receiving dreams of Padme dying in childbirth, he needed answers, which is where in the story we know he is seduced by Palpatine and thus turned into Darth Vader. But with Anakin now going to the restricted section, well, perhaps he could find other answers, ancient texts or even holocrons from old ancient Jedi or Sith alike that could help him on his quest. One night, Anakin slips out of his bed in Padme's apartment. He hops on his speeder and heads for the Jedi Temple. At night, the temple showed little life. For once, he was able to walk through the halls freely without being disturbed. He enters the archives where he makes his way to the secret room at the end, and using the Force he opens the door. The restricted section of the Jedi Temple. This room was even larger than the one he had just left, maybe even double the size. How had he never seen this before, he thought to himself. As Anakin roamed the rows of texts and objects, he read more and more, indulging himself in the teachings from all over the galaxy. He learned of old civilizations and worlds that he had never heard of, even different foods and cultures. As he entered the Jedi section, he saw one text called Healing. Immediately stealing Anakin's attention, he opened it, and he didn't put it down until he was finished. This is it, he thought to himself. Force heal. And it's a Jedi technique. I must learn this. I'll be able to save Padme after all. Anakin withdrew the book from the archives and read it further, learning the technique. He would practice on different animals and creatures that he encountered whilst on missions from the Order. He had become a master at that technique in only a few weeks. Anakin told Palpatine of this mysterious power that he had learned. At this stage, he trusted Palpatine more than anyone. He truly confided his feelings to the Chancellor and became extremely close with him. Although praising this new ability and pursuing caution into Anakin's mind, behind the scenes, Palpatine was furious. Over 10 years of long manipulation gone to rest. His whole plan had gone to ruins. He was relying on the Jedi not granting Anakin the rank of Master, as well as Anakin feeling desperate from his visions of Padme. What could he do? There was no way of pulling Anakin to the dark side. Not anymore. Not peacefully, anyway. He needed to do something. So here is where the story could go one of two ways. First, Palpatine could use his patience and actually wait for Luke and Leia to grow old, and use his manipulation on them. They are the children of Skywalker at the end of the day, and hold exceptional powers in the Force. Or the second option, he could take his anger out on the one Anakin loves. I think option 2 is a lot more fun. Palpatine knew that Anakin was still fireworks ready to be set off. All he needed to do was pluck the right strings and manipulate the right actions so that Anakin would eventually go boom, just as we saw in Revenge of the Sith. Palpatine heads for Padme's apartment, whilst Anakin was off-world on Jedi business. As he approaches the door, he encounters her guards whose necks he snaps before they can even raise their arms. Padme was shocked to see him in her apartment. He had never made a personal visit before, especially unannounced.
Hello, Chancellor. What may I help you with?
Good evening, Senator. My business tonight has nothing to do with you personally, but you have become a liability.
Palpatine cackles as he ignites his crimson blade. Padme takes a sharp breath and stumbles back, knocking dishes from the table on the floor.
What are you doing, Chancellor?
She calls for her guards, to which there was no response.
Please, I have kids in the way. You can't do this. Why?
She pleads for him to leave, but Palpatine, the abomination of human spirit, walks forward, forcing the lightsaber blade through Padme's stomach, killing both her and the children soon to be born. Palpatine leaves her body on the floor and heads back to his office with a grin not leaving his face. Days passed and there is no word from her. Anakin returns from his mission off-world and gives the briefing to the Jedi Order. Then he makes his way home for the night, excited to see his wife, whom he had not seen in weeks. As he walks through the front door, he smells the deceased bodies of their guards living on the floor. Anakin immediately runs into the house, calling for Padme, but there was no answer. Running from room to room, he didn't find anything, until he entered the kitchen. Her body lay on the tiled floor. Though dead, her hair stayed perfectly placed across her face. Anakin dropped to the floor. His silence spoke 1,000 words. Tears flooded the corner of his eyes as they dropped from his cheek to the floor. Anakin stands, taking deep breaths, his sadness gone and rage lifting. Not only had he lost his wife, but his soon-to-be children. Anakin tries to calm his emotions as best he can, but he can't. It was too hard. He had lost way too much. First his mother, and now this. He leaves his home and goes to Palpatine's office. He needed to speak with someone that he trusted, and that couldn't be the Jedi.
Ah, Anakin, to what do I owe this pleasure?
Anakin was visibly distraught. My wife, Padme, she's dead.
I am terribly sorry, Anakin.
Palpatine's sincerity showed little convincing, but the state that Anakin was in, he didn't notice. Anakin stomps back and forth, pouring his feelings to Palpatine. With each passing moment, his anger steadily increasing, coursing through his veins. Palpatine could sense it, and encouraged it by asking more questions to further provoke his anger. As Anakin marches the room, an object on a shelf in the corner caught his eye. When Palpatine stood, glancing out the window at the city below, Anakin moved to the object. It was the necklace he had given Padme years earlier. She wore it everywhere. How does he have it? Anakin's rage began to boil. That's Padme's. Where did you get it?
Anakin, come now, what are you trying to say?
There was no time left to mourn. His wife's murderer stood in front of him. Anakin's gaze shifts back to Palpatine, and he ignites his lightsaber. Anakin swings at Palpatine, wasting no time to employ revenge against him. Palpatine is able to dodge the first few swings before being forced to ignite his lightsaber and block against Anakin's incoming attack. He hadn't expected Anakin to turn on him, or at least not this soon at all. Whilst in Yoda's meditation sessions, he senses the Force calling out to him to feel the shift in Anakin Skywalker, similar to how he felt in Attack of the Clones. His eyes sprung open as he jumped to his feet to warn the other Jedi Masters. He went to Mace Windu and Kenobi, who then told others. Together, the Jedi Masters left for Palpatine's office, where they felt the shift in the Force. As Anakin swung at Palpatine, his anger only increased. Calling on all aspects of the Force, Anakin put Palpatine on the back foot. Only hanging on by a small grip and strength, Palpatine switched between all 7 forms of lightsaber dueling. Leaping around his office, trying to find any vantage point that he could. As their door led them to the window, it shattered upon contact from their lightsabers. Anakin kicked Palpatine's lightsaber out of his hand, falling to the depths below, just as Mace Windu did in Revenge of the Sith. Palpatine stumbles back, trying to avoid Anakin's dark blue blade. Anakin raises the saber to swing at Palpatine's throat, just as the doors to his office open. "Skywalker, no!" Anakin looks to his right, where he sees half a dozen Jedi Masters enter the room. Palpatine sighs a small sense of relief. "Help me, Master Jedi. Anakin is trying to take over." Anakin looked down at Palpatine and then to the Jedi. "You don't understand, Masters. Palpatine is a Sith Lord. He killed Pat." Anakin stopped himself. He almost gave away the biggest secret of all, which would have meant his expulsion from the Jedi Order. Yoda stepped forward. "Confronting yourself then. Dangerous move, that is." "There was no time. I had to arrest him." Anakin tried to justify his actions. Palpatine got to his feet. "Thank goodness you came, Master Jedi. I don't know what I would have done without you." Yoda, Mace, and the other Jedi Masters stood there confused on what to do. Mace opened his mouth first. "Why don't we bring him to the Jedi Temple and test his midi-chlorian count? Then we can see if what Skywalker said is the truth." The Masters nodded in agreement, as did Anakin. "I don't think that is necessary, Master Jedi. You saw Anakin trying to assassinate me yourself." "Well, then you should have no problem coming with us. We can give you the best protection out of anyone," Mace continued. Palpatine's grin fades from his face. "I do not wish to be questioned by you, Jedi. You know nothing." It seemed as though the Council's suspicions of Palpatine may come true after all. The Jedi Masters ignite their lightsabers to bring him in, as Anakin, who is still trying to calm his emotions, joins the side of the Jedi, his blade still humming. Palpatine couldn't go with the Jedi anymore. They would discover the truth. All he could do was stand there and fight. "It's treason, then." Palpatine raises his arm, and out of the two vases in his office comes identical lightsabers. He ignites them to show a beautiful crimson. He leaps forward, screaming a Sith cry, disorientating the Jedi. As they take a defensive position, Palpatine starts attacking. He knows he has to prioritize the weaker Masters first, and leave the others to the end. Still at this point, Anakin would most likely be safe of injuries from Palpatine. A part of the Chancellor still feels that Anakin may join the dark side. The flashes of Palpatine's two crimson blades flurry around the room, as first he slices Plo Koon in half, and quickly follows by impaling Kit Fisto. His speed was unmatched. Only those of Yoda and Mace Windu could keep up with his jumping technique. As Palpatine locks blades with Yoda, he shoots a bolt of Sith lightning at Obi-Wan, knocking him to the ground, before throwing his lightsaber at the disarmed Obi-Wan, killing him. Anakin's heart sank. That was the second person close to him to die that day. But he stayed composed and continued to fight Palpatine. Palpatine leaped backwards towards the window. "You cannot stop me, Jedi. My powers are twice that of yours." He turned his lightsabers off and shot bolts of lightning at the remaining 4 Jedi, which would be blocked by both Yoda and Mace. Palpatine laughed as he called on all aspects of the Force. He raised his hands as they were all lifted into the air, grasping for breath. Before they could all break free of the choke, Ki-Adi-Mundi's neck would snap as he fell to the ground, dead. Yoda leaped for Palpatine, fighting with every bit of strength he has left. The two were equally matched in their force, as their blades met from constant swinging. Anakin felt a sudden gust of rage come upon him, as he furiously threw his blade at Palpatine and lifted him into the air, throwing him to the corner. As Palpatine tried to get to his feet, it was too late. Anakin was already there as he killed Palpatine once and for all. "That was for Padme," he said, as Palpatine took his final breath. "It's over," Mace explained. "Calm yourself, Skywalker." Anakin took deep breaths and left the room. He went straight back to Padme's apartment, where he found her body in the same place, untouched. He placed his hand on her, as streams of tears flooded his face. "I wasn't strong enough to save you, Padme. I'm so sorry." He shuts his eye as he continues to cry. But just as he takes a deep breath, he feels a soft hand caress his cheek.
Annie, it's okay. I'm okay.
He opens his eyes to see Padme alive. Although shaken, she breathed normally and seemed perfectly fine. How? Anakin asked himself. It seemed his force healing technique had worked. Padme was back, alive again. She was rushed to the hospital where she gave birth to Luke and Leia. Mace Windu and Yoda came to the hospital where they saw the whole thing. Although annoyed at Skywalker for holding his attachment, which made himself lose control earlier that night, they sympathized with him and allowed him to stay in the Order. He did just destroy the Sith and fulfill the prophecy after all. Despite this, he would have many sessions with Mace Windu on learning how to control your anger, as he was the master of this. It was a miracle. Luke and Leia were welcomed into the Jedi Order where their training began. They had many eyes on them, as they were the children of the Chosen One. Yoda personally trained them until they were Jedi Knights before he passed away in his sleep. Padme was elected as the new Supreme Chancellor and helped to bring a new order to the Republic and rebuild from the destruction caused by the Clone Wars. Anakin became the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, with his wife Padme and both of his children by his side, bringing peace to the galaxy. Thank you all for watching this video. This took me a while to make, but it was a lot of fun, and well, I am quite happy with how it turned out. Let me know what you thought of the overall story in the comments below, as well as more what if ideas you'd like me to cover in the future.